Hello and welcome to Mapfre's coverage of ITC DIA Europe. And joining me here today is Rob Schimek from bolttech. Rob, how are you doing? You good?
I'm wonderful, Doug. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. And Rob, before we go any further, could you please tell our viewers a bit more about yourself and bolttech?
Super. So first of all, I am proudly the CEO of bolttech, living in Singapore on a day-to-day basis. You can tell from this accent, this is not a Singaporean accent. So born and bred in the United States. My background is insurance. So we are an insurtech. And so you either have to have an insurance background or a tech background. I'm an insurance guy. And so I did 12 years at AIG before changing over to bolttech. And one of the reasons that I wanted to make this change is I wanted a company that was a bit younger and able to have less of a historical technology debt and more of a new digital flair. And so that's why we created bolttech.
That's absolutely incredible. I can't think of a better time in an industry that's so primed to really excel and thrive. It's such a great time to not have a legacy system. I mean, It's so brilliant to hear. Now, bolttech, you've announced some incredible numbers, truly. And in a time where a lot of tech companies are having reevaluations, focusing on kind of just getting by. What's the secret sauce? How did you get to those numbers?
Let me start by explaining briefly what bolttech sort of is, what we do, and then that'll put those numbers into context a little bit, right?
Truly.
So let's start this. We operate on 3 continents, North America, Europe, and Asia, and we're in 31 markets around those 3 continents. So first of all, we're a global player. So when you want to get to have decent sized numbers, it's easier if you're able to do that on a global stage than it is if you're focused in one very, very, very narrow niche. First comment. The second thing is, what we do for a living is really 2 things. First, we have a very robust embedded insurance platform, one of the most significant embedded insurance platforms in this business. And for those of you who aren't experts on embedded insurance, it's just providing insurance at the exact point of need. When the customer has the purchase of an item, they also can decide to protect the item that they're purchasing. But that is only the beginning of the bolttech story that gets you to these numbers that you're talking about. We expand from being an embedded insurance platform to having the world's leading technology-enabled insurance exchange on top of that.
Wow.
So what an insurance exchange is it works like a stock exchange. We match buyers and sellers of insurance, just making it easier for people to buy and sell insurance. Last year, we quoted about $60 billion of premium. We're a baby, so we're 4 years old. We're a baby little company, so 60 billion, pretty big number for us, but that puts those numbers a little bit in context for you.
It truly does. I mean, at this point, it almost feels like you're not just a business, you're an industry into itself. You've revolutionized the game. And I mean, let's embrace embedded insurance a bit more. Let's find out about it. You've brought it to the scene. People don't wake up and want to buy an insurance premium, but when they buy a new phone and then they're presented with, you can protect that phone immediately, a light bulb moment, hello, you can buy it. So how do you think embedded insurance has contributed to the strategy of bolttech, and where's it going to lead in the future?
So we think of embedded insurance and also really that very specific product that you just talked about, which is this, we call it device protection, when you're protecting your phone. We think of that as really our hero product. That's how we introduce ourselves into the marketplace. It might be the first time someone has ever purchased protection of this sort is when they buy it for their phone. And you and I both know, you can take my car, you can take many elements of my property, but please don't take my cell phone. Who knows what you might find
I'd get lost immediately.
Yes, exactly. It's so very important, very confidential information, business related, personal things that you just want to have protected. And so when you lose that device, you recognize that was a real loss. And so we offer the opportunity at the time of your purchase of your device for you to be able to protect it. Interestingly, we don't always refer to that as insurance. We refer to it as protection. And the reason is we don't necessarily position our product simply to be what we call an indemnity product. An indemnity product means you lost your device and now you want the cash. You might not want the cash. What you really want when you lose your phone is what?
A new phone.
You want your new phone.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I want my new phone and I want it quick. And so this whole process of device protection has really developed into this amazing customer satisfaction machine. So we're able to provide device protection where we can replace your phone in hours at your absolute most painful point, the product that you must have at your fingertips at all time. And you get that in a way that says, I don't care if you broke your phone, lost your phone, just hate your phone. Maybe you hate the person who was calling you on the phone and you just want to throw it away and get a new one. We can do any of those things.
Yeah.
Upgrade you from the last model to the most recent model. Switch you from an Apple to a Samsung or a Samsung to an Apple. We can actually repair your phone. We can replace your phone with new. We can replace it with refurbished. So the point is that this whole area of embedded isn't your mother's or your grandmother's embedded. It has evolved to a much more modern version of protection. And it's just our hero product. It's the first place where someone might deal with bolttech. But hopefully, if we get this right, it's just the first place and not the last.
I completely agree. I mean, it's amazing to think how this is revolutionizing the way people even think of insurance. You know, even changing the name, suddenly you get a whole new generation thinking, yeah, of course, that makes so much more sense than just having to chase down a channel, a phone line maybe, getting some money back 6 months later. Actually, I just want the new phone now.
Exactly.
Now, I love this topic, but maybe the typical person on the street hasn't got to this point yet. I'm gonna remove us a bit from bolttech now and get your perspective in a thought leader perspective. When do you think embedded insurance is gonna hit the mainstream and people get used to it? Because right now, it's still revolutionary.
It is, and many of the really interesting publications that talk about embedded insurance give you a sense of the relative size and scale that this thing can become.
Right?
You'll hear numbers published like a $5 trillion, not billion, not million, $5 trillion opportunity over the course of the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Now, that embedded insurance won't happen to get to that scale if it's very niche and very nuanced and just little add-ons.
Yeah.
It has to become the beginning step to something much bigger. And so as I mentioned to you earlier, we also offer an insurance exchange, which is sort of like the next step beyond simple embedded. The way we think about simple embedded is that you don't really, as a buyer of the product, care exactly who is protecting you. What you care about is that you got protection. And that works when the price of the item that you're protecting is very low ticket. Your cell phone, it's valuable, but the price of that item is between $1,000 and $2,000 US. It's not the most expensive item you could possibly lose.
No.
However, where I think this will really burst onto the mainstream is when you see that it continues to evolve, not just from protecting a simple low ticket item, but we have the ability to help a customer graduate, not just from protecting the low ticket item to protecting your phone, to all of the home electronics that you have, to the home that you're putting them in, to the automobile that you drive to your home, to the health, to the life, to everything in the life cycle of the customer. And that is all part of the beginning of this embedded insurance journey. So I think the opportunity is huge, but we have to think about it in a much bigger way.
Well, I mean, I've kind of already mentioned that it just feels like you are revolutionizing the industry as a whole. It's not just a new way of, a new product or a new system. It is actually changing the way that people think about insurance. And the way you've brought about such a holistic change, it's obviously going to bring new people's appetite for protection, and suddenly I think you're going to get a whole new demographic. But with that in mind, then I'm really intrigued. You've mentioned in this conversation that you're based out of Singapore, and I know it's such a dynamic ecosystem out there. Is there ever a moment that made you go, oh wow, this country has a wow moment in this industry? You know?
So I would say a couple things about Singapore. Number one, this is really the hub for economic activity, I think, in Southeast Asia. And what really is interesting to bolttech in Asia is Southeast Asia. You can't deny the size and the scale of China, but don't underestimate the real opportunity in these emerging markets of Southeast Asia. Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore itself, Hong Kong, Malaysia. These countries are very powerful and very interesting themselves. And what Singapore has done is they've positioned themselves wonderfully. They've been very thoughtful about the technology. They've thought very much about being a hub for fintech. You think about one of the biggest festivals for fintech in the world is the Singapore Fintech Festival.
It's huge.
And then you think about the regulatory environment and the attitude of the government. The government, through their Economic Development Board, is an investor in bolttech. We're proud to say that they are a Series A and a Series B investor in our little company. And when you think about the regulation, it really requires a regulator that's very progressive, that's thinking not about how to regulate the companies of the past, but how to regulate the companies of the future. So that combination of focus on tech, focus on fintech in particular, focusing on regulation, focusing on government support, focusing on training their people to be a workforce that is attractive to an insurtech. That is the secret sauce behind Singapore.
It's so amazing to hear that. It sounds so exciting, so dynamic. And then you combine that with the offering, it's absolutely amazing. Now, we've talked about the embedded side, we've talked about the regulatory side. Let's explore the exchange bit a bit further. Can you tell us a bit more how bolttech collaborates with maybe banks, other insurance companies, to actually create this exchange that's going to change the way the insurance industry is carried out?
I love this topic. Right. And of course, it's at the heart of what bolttech does. In particular, we do this really well in the United States. So let me use this as an example for you. In the last 12 months, we quoted about 60 billion US dollars of premium on behalf of distributors of insurance, people who want to sell insurance, and on behalf of the insurance carriers on our platform who want to sell the product. So we have over 230 insurance carriers connected to our platform, offering their products in a technology-driven way through our distribution partners. And all of this is powered by APIs that make this connectivity really easy. So we've built all of our technology on a homegrown basis. And let me give you an idea of the size and the scale and the power of what we're capable of doing. We quote a homeowner's insurance policy 28 times per minute, 60 minutes an hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So the volume of these quotes is really remarkable. But what we're doing is we're not providing just one quote, we're providing choice. So if a customer wants to buy their homeowner's insurance, they don't want to be told here's who you will buy it from. They want choice, and we make it easy for the customer. We give them a recommendation. So we have a very sophisticated recommendation engine, proprietary model that says, here's who we think is the best choice for you. But in case you want someone else, here is the comparison that tells you your other choices. What we're really trying to do is find a way to say yes. When the customer wants to buy insurance, we don't want to say, we don't have it, go somewhere else. The best case study that we have in America, I think, is Progressive Insurance. One of the most well-known insurers, direct market insurers in all of the country, a tremendous company. And Progressive's real core competency is in auto insurance. They're experts. They invented the story of understanding data, pricing, analysis of all of these risks, and really being the kings of the mountain when it comes to auto insurance. But what they recognized was that when a customer buys auto, they're probably parking their car somewhere, at their home, at their apartment. And so they recognize that this auto and home bundle capability goes together. But they also recognize that they are not balance sheet experts in homeowners insurance.
Yeah.
So they stick to their knitting. They stick to the primary area that they are experts
Motor.
in their auto space. And in the homeowner space, they open it up to a panel of homeowners insurers, and they create a bundle that is essentially a virtual bundle. And it's our technology that enables that to happen. But
so you can tailor policies from different organizations into one. That's incredible.
It really is, and Progressive is really one of the key leaders in this, in helping to figure out how do you even get smarter and more sophisticated in how to do this in a way that makes it really a great experience for the customer. So we've done some really great developments for Progressive where we use pre-fill. So when you give me very few answers to things, I can actually pre-fill the questionnaire with many facts that I don't have to ask you. So from a customer use perspective, it's simple. And what do you really want for the customer? You want simplicity. And then they get the trust of knowing that the partner that they were dealing with is Progressive, who will always look after them, will curate this experience so it feels like that Progressive quality experience.
Yeah.
And that is what makes it so successful.
That tier one brand, but with the flexibility of an insurtech.
Right
I
on.
love it. Now, I'm going to end on probably the hardest question of the day. What's next for you guys?
Well, I would say, you know that we just had a very successful Series B fundraising round, which we announced. We've raised over $196 million. And we did that in a way that people probably won't fully appreciate, and that is we had an up round fundraising in this market, straight equity, without the protections of minimum rate guarantees, minimum IRR guarantees, or crazy liquidation preference. So a very simple, very clean, very powerful fundraising round that enabled us to do a couple of things. One, we have enough cash on our balance sheet today to fuel the bolttech rocket ship to get us all the way through to EBITDA positive and to cash flow break-even space. That is one of the places where so many insurtechs really struggle to ever get to.
Yeah.
The second thing is it has created a bit of a war chest that will enable us not just to invest in our own homegrown technology to make it even better than it is today, but enables us to look for opportunities to make our platform even better by small acquisitions here and there that fill in some of the gaps that could make us an even better partner for our ecosystem partners on the distribution side or on the carrier side. So we're super excited about that. We are looking all the time at possible inorganic opportunities, and I think this is going to be a really exciting time for bolttech.
Well, Rob, I'm so excited to hear the story. Thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
It was a real pleasure.